Hello, my name's Tom, and today we're going to play a game, and it's a drawing game that simply needs some colouring pencils and a sketchbook or even just a piece of paper. It's very, very simple. Now, I say we only need pencils and a sketchbook, but actually we need another person. So Alistair, my son, is going to come in and help me in a minute. Now, once we've played the game, we are then going to turn what we create into a picture. So that's important, but we'll come to that in a minute. Now, the game itself is something that some of you will probably know. It's very simple. It's called Dots and Boxes, although in our house we seem to only call it the Dot Game. Very imaginative. And the premise of the game is very simple. You draw a grid of dots and each person takes it in turn to join those dots. And if anyone creates a square or a box, then they win that box. And then the person that ends the whole game with the most boxes wins the game. So if that doesn't make any sense, then don't worry, because I'll explain it, or rather I'll show it here. So what you need is to draw a grid. Now, I'll be honest, I drew the grid in red pencil and then thought I'd do it again in black because it looks a bit better and clearer on the camera. Now, you can do as many dots as you like. I decided to do 5 squares by 5 squares, which means 6 dots down the side and 6 dots along the top. So ultimately there'll be 25 boxes, but you can make as many as you want. If you want a really long game, you could do loads more, or if you want a short game, then you can do something like 4 dots by 4 dots. Now, once you've drawn your grid, then the game can begin, and each player takes it in turns to draw a line between the dots. It's important to choose different colours. It makes it easier. So I'll have someone with red and someone with green. Now, this is me demonstrating, so I'm just playing against myself. It obviously doesn't really work this way. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a few of these and then show what happens when someone actually joins up a box. So look, the green can go, I've got a box. And once you've done that, you can put your initial into the box. That is T for Tom. And then once you've done your T in the box, or whatever your initial is, you have another go. And that's important to remember. If you've completed a box, then you must have another go. Now, I know I said I'm playing against myself, but I think I'm going to pretend I'm playing against Alistair. So I will put an A in the red box when it comes to it. So that's all pretty straightforward. And what we do is, if I just fast forward a little bit, you can see how the game will kind of end up. We'll just finish it off here. My initials are T, Alistair is A. Who's won this one? Well, what a surprise, I made myself win. Now, you don't have to put your initial in. You could colour the box in. The most important thing is just to make sure that you know that that's your box that you've won, so that at the end you can count them all up and decide who's the winner. Now, I'm going to have another go now, but this time with Al. This is a recording that I did earlier, just so I can get the edit right. Here we go. Now, Alistair was red and I was green. You can see that by my old wrinkled hands and his very young looking hands. Now, Alistair made a very, very bizarre error at the start just here, and I was able to close the box off straight away. He was a bit irritated by that, but don't worry, because he then picked himself up. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to fast forward it again so you don't have to watch the entire game unfold, because it was quite long, but also, of course, very fun. Now, it's important to note at this point that in this game, we used little spots to put in the middle of the boxes when someone had won the box, and that's important for the thing that we're going to do next. But here's how the game panned out, and oh dear, Alistair won 16-9, I think it was. Well done, Al. So there we go, that is the Dot Game, and I've got to say that Dom and Al still both quite enjoy playing that, and I hope you do too. But this is a drawing video, and although that was a little bit of drawing, I'm now going to do what I said I was going to do earlier and turn our Dot Game grid into a picture. And I'm going to do it by basically selecting a whole load of different colours. Where are they? There we go. And I'm going to make a pattern. Now, I'm speeding it up again, so you don't have to watch the whole thing in real time. But what I thought I'd do is I would join the little spots that I put in the middle with the squares outside and create little triangles of colour. And I tried to use a few different colours, and I think it's working out quite nicely, really. And then at the end, I thought, well, what does this look like? Well, it looks a little bit like a present, and especially if I drew a bow on top. And there we go. Now it's suddenly Christmassy. Bit of an outline to finish off. Nice. And here we have it. The dot game turned into a picture of a Christmas present. And I quite like it, really. Quite like the colours. So hopefully that's given you some ideas. Why don't you have a go? And by the way, Merry Christmas.